Today we're diving deep into why Horus Lupercal was the most retarded Primarch in the entire galaxy. This is the complete breakdown of every retarded decision that led to the Horus heresy. Buckle up, the golden boy who threw it all away. Let's start with the basics. Horus, the War Master, the Emperor's favorite son, the first Primarch found, the most successful, the guy who literally had everything handed to him on a golden platter, and still managed to fumble the entire galaxy like a butterfingered toddler with a chainsword. This man was literally the Emperor's right hand. He conquered more worlds than any other Primarch. The Lunar Wolves were renamed the Sons of Horus in his honor. The Big E trusted him so much he made him War Master over all the other Primarchs. And what does Horus do with this ultimate honor? Gets his feelings hurt and throws the galaxy's biggest tantrum. Retarded doesn't even begin to cover it. But let's talk about where it all went wrong. Davin. Oh boy, Davin. Our mighty War Master gets into a little scuffle with some chaos-corrupted locals and takes a wound from an obvious chaos weapon. It's literally called the Anatheme, and that's not exactly subtle naming, is it? So what does our tactical genius do? Does he go to the Imperial medics? Does he use the advanced medical technology of the 31st millennium? No! He lets his lodge buddies, and I'm talking about Erebus here, the literal worst person in the galaxy, convince him to go to a Chaos Temple for healing. A Chaos Temple! That's like going to a plague house to cure your cold. Retarded. And then, oh, this is where it gets really retarded. He goes into a coma and has fever dreams, but not just any fever dreams, chaos-induced fever dreams, where the ruinous powers literally show him a PowerPoint presentation of why your dad sucks. And Horus watches this obvious propaganda and goes, yep, seems legit. Peak retarded behavior. Let's talk about something people don't mention enough, the warrior lodges. Horus literally allowed secret societies to form within his legions. Secret societies in a military organization. That's like letting your soldiers have secret club meetings where they complain about orders. Any competent commander would shut that down immediately. But not our retarded War Master. He thought it was great for morale. Yeah, nothing builds unit cohesion like secret meetings where half your officers are plotting behind your back. And guess what? These lodges became the perfect recruitment tool for chaos. Who could have seen that coming? Oh wait, literally everyone except retarded Horus. Now let's talk about how the Chaos Gods convinced him. This is where it gets really retarded. They didn't offer him power. He already had power. They didn't offer him an empire. He already commanded one. They didn't even offer him immortality. Primarchs are basically immortal anyway. What did they offer? Vague promises and some cosmic horror slideshow. Hey Horus, your dad is secretly planning to become a god and abandon you. And Horus went, oh no, better start a galactic civil war. Have you tried talking to your dad first? Maybe a quick, hey, what's up with this whole godhood thing? But no, straight to galactic warfare, because communication is apparently too retarded for the War Master. The Chaos Gods literally pulled the worst con job in galactic history, and Horus fell for it completely. They're called the Ruinous Powers for a reason. It's in the name, but retarded Horus thought he could control them. And then we get to Istvan III. This is where Horus goes from questionable decision maker to weapons grade retarded. His brilliant plan: test the loyalty of his own troops by virus bombing them. Not reassigning them, not sending them on different missions. Genocide. That's not strategy, that's a war crime with extra steps. Think about this logically. You want to start a rebellion, so you kill a third of your own army. That's like planning a heist and shooting your getaway driver first. Retarded. And then when some of them survive in bunkers, instead of going, oops, maybe we should talk, he sends down the traitor legions to finish the job. Peak retarded behavior. Meanwhile, loyal space marines like Garviel Loken and Tarek Torgadon are down there going, wait, why is our own fleet bombing us? Because retarded Horus didn't even have the courtesy to explain his master plan. Just surprise genocide. Real team building exercise there, War Master. But wait, it gets sillier. Istvan V, the drop site massacre. Horus has this brilliant idea. Let's invite the loyal legions to come help us put down the rebellion, and then ambush them with our secret traitor legions. Genius, right? Wrong. First off, he only managed to corrupt half the legions he was counting on. The Alpha Legion was playing 4D chess. Nobody understood. The Iron Warriors were just angry about everything, and don't get me started on the Word Bearers who started this whole mess. That's not a coalition, that's a group therapy session for daddy issues. And even with this massive advantage and the element of complete surprise, he still didn't manage to wipe out the Loyalists completely. Korax escaped, Vulcan escaped, The Salamanders and Raven Guard live to fight another day. How do you mess up a perfect ambush? By being retarded, that's how. Speaking of the traitor legions, let's talk about Horus's amazing leadership skills with his new Chaos buddies. You've got the Emperor's children turning into noise marines obsessed with perfection and excess. Fulgrim literally gets possessed by a demon sword and Horus goes, "This is fine." Retarded. The Iron Warriors, who are just perpetually angry about siege warfare and never getting recognition. Perturabo has the emotional maturity of a toddler with an engineering degree, and Horus thought, yes, this is exactly who I want as an ally. Retarded. The Night Lords led by Conrad Kurz, who's literally insane and thinks justice means skinning people alive. Great addition to the team, Horus, really bringing in the stable personalities. Retarded. The Word Bearers, who worship chaos like it's going out of style and literally started this whole mess because they got their feelings hurt about the Imperial truth. Erebus and Corfaron are manipulating Horus like a puppet and he thinks he's in charge. Retarded. The Alpha Legion, who nobody understands what they're actually doing, including themselves probably. Hydra Dominators, yeah, great. Very helpful in actual battles, guys. Are you helping? Are you hindering? Who knows? Retarded. The Death Guard, who literally let themselves get infected with Nurgle's plagues because Typhon thought it was a good idea. Nothing says winning strategy like voluntarily becoming walking disease factories. Retarded. And the Thousand Sons, who got turned into dust because Magnus thought he could outsmart Tzeentch, the literal god of scheming. Horus looked at this collection of disasters and thought, yes, this is my winning team. Absolutely retarded. The Siege of Terra. Silliness reaches maximum level. But the peak of Horus's silliness comes during the Siege of Terra. He's got Terra surrounded, the Emperor is trapped in the Imperial Palace, and what does our tactical genius do? Instead of just, winning, he decides to drag it out. He could have just kept bombing from orbit. He could have starved them out. He could have used any number of strategies that don't involve giving the loyalists time to prepare. But no, retarded Horus wants to make it dramatic. He wants to personally humiliate the Emperor. Retarded. And don't get me started on the individual battles. The siege drags on for months because Horus can't coordinate his traitor legions properly. They're all off doing their own chaos-corrupted thing instead of focusing on the objective. Angron is just running around being angry. Fulgrim is having art therapy sessions, and Mortarion is complaining about everything. Real leadership there, War Master. But the absolute peak of retarded behavior comes at the end. The Vengeful Spirit's shields go down, and instead of finishing the siege properly, Horus thinks, you know what? Honor duel time. This isn't Pokemon, bro. This is the fate of humanity. He could have stayed safely on his flagship and coordinated the final assault. He could have sent his Primarch brothers to deal with the Emperor. He could have used any tactical thinking whatsoever, but no, retarded Horus wants his anime protagonist moment. So the Emperor, Sanguinius, and Dawn teleport aboard, and what happens? Sanguinius gets killed trying to reason with Horus, because apparently, even in his chaos-corrupted state, some part of him still loved his brother. But instead of this being a wake-up call, retarded Horus doubles down. And then comes the final confrontation. The Emperor shows up, and for a moment, one moment, the real Horus breaks through the chaos corruption. He realizes what he's done, the horror of it all, and he begs his father to kill him before chaos takes control again. And what does the Emperor do? He hesitates, because he still loves his son. But then chaos takes over again, and the Emperor realizes there's no saving him, so he deletes Horus from existence in about 30 seconds flat. Boom, gone, soul destroyed completely. That's not a final boss fight. That's a tutorial enemy who forgot to level up. All that build-up, all that corruption, all that power from the Chaos Gods, and the Emperor just erases him. Like deleting a file, retarded. So why was Horus so incredibly retarded? Let's break it down. First, he had daddy issues the size of the Eye of Terror. The Emperor treated him like a son and a general, but Horus wanted to be treated like a god. Retarded. Second, he fell for the obvious manipulation by Erebus and the Chaos Gods. These are literally called the forces of evil, and Horus thought he could control them. Retarded. Third, his military strategy was terrible. He had every advantage and still managed to lose because he couldn't coordinate his own forces or make basic tactical decisions. Retarded. Fourth, he destroyed everything he claimed to be fighting for. He wanted to save humanity from the Emperor's tyranny by starting a galactic civil war that killed trillions. Retarded. Fifth, he He could have had everything he wanted just by talking to the Emperor instead of listening to Chaos Corruption, but communication is apparently too hard for the War Master. Retarded. And what's the result of all this silliness? The Horus Heresy. The galaxy gets split in half, the Emperor gets stuck on the Golden Throne for 10,000 years, half the Space Marine legions turn traitor, and humanity enters the Age of Strife. All because one Primarch couldn't handle his emotions like a grown-up. The entire grimdark future of Warhammer 40,000 exists because Horus was too retarded to see he was being manipulated. The Imperium becomes a totalitarian nightmare. Chaos gets a permanent foothold in reality and billions suffer for millennia, all because the War Master had the emotional stability of a teenager with daddy issues. Peak retarded. So there you have it, 40,000 fans, Horus Lupercal, the man, the myth, the galactic L, the Primarch who had everything and threw it all away because he got his feelings hurt. War Master, more like war disaster, the poster child for why you don't make life-changing decisions while under the influence of literal demons. Horus wasn't just a traitor, he was a walking red flag in power armor with the critical thinking skills of a lobotomized servitor. The Chaos Gods didn't corrupt him with power, they corrupted him with the worst sales pitch in galactic history, and he fell for it completely. In conclusion, retarded. Absolutely, tragically, cosmically retarded. The most retarded betrayal in the grim darkness of the far future, where there is only war. Because Horus was too retarded to prevent it. Smash that like button if you think Horus was the most retarded Primarch. Subscribe for more Warhammer 40k hot takes, and drop a comment below. What's your favourite example of Horus being retarded? I'll see you in the next video, and remember, for the Emperor.